Welcome to Movies We Like, part of the True Story FM Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm Andy Nelson, and that over there is Pete Wright.
It is. It's confirmed. It's Pete Wright.
On today's episode, we have invited hair and makeup designer Frances Hounsom to talk about Whiplash, a movie she likes. Frances, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. It's great to be here. I love the intros to these podcasts when it's all like, whoa, this is hello, nice to be here. It's really cool. It's an honor to be with you guys today. Thank you for spending my bank holiday Monday with me.
Oh, outstanding.
Oh, look at that. Perfect.
I love that you lifted, I saw just a peek of your notes that you lifted up as you were getting yourself sorted. There's highlighting on those pages. Has there ever been a guest more prepared? I don't believe so.
I love that. My whole setup. I have Post-it notes all around my laptop right now. If only you could see the amount of information on here.
Oh, it's so great. It's fantastic. Well, before we start talking about Damien Chazelle's Whiplash, let's jump into, let's just talk about your career a little bit. Working as a hair and makeup designer, how did you get into that career? What were your steps? Is it something you saw the credit and go, oh, I wonder what that is? And, what was it?
Sheer luck, perhaps. I always wanted to be in the film industry. I used to watch Wizard of Oz on repeat as a child at my nan and granddad's house. And I swear, they said, is there nothing else you want to watch? And I was like, no, this Victor Fleming film is everything.
I hear all the coolest kids are watching it.
All the coolest kids are watching it, and I was like, "Okay, let's convert to Gone with the Wind," which was another one of his classics. So,
outstanding! If we could do everything from the first film with some casual racism, outstanding!
It's just terrible. That was my good. Yeah, that was it. And then it converted to the Santa Claus at Christmas time. So I went from Wizard of Oz to the Santa Claus, just on repeat. Even in the middle of June, I think I used to say, "Granddad, please, can I watch the Santa Claus?" And he was, "No, now is not the time." And he put Casablanca on, so we got to Casablanca instead.
Casablanca is the winner. Casablanca, I think, may be the first one in that list without a problematic performer. And I think you've nailed it with Casablanca.
Nailed it. Thanks, Granddad. Yeah. Casablanca, that's it. That was
saved by Granddad.
That and as well as your Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, the Draculas, the Mummies of the old times. I used to watch all of those films just back to back. I loved all of that, to the point I would wrap myself up in bandages as a child and put ketchup on me and and tell my parents I needed help. I think I did at that point. They must have just been in despair. I can't actually imagine my poor parents. Jam, everything that was red was seen as blood to me as a child. So
that explains now. We were wondering why you picked Whiplash as the makeup and hair designer movie, and now it's bloody knuckles. Right? That's it. It's all about the bloody knuckles.
That's it. Although I will say, if he was playing those drums properly, he probably wouldn't have had bloody knuckles, but that's a whole nother discussion. That's my musical side coming out.
There we go. But we're about fantasy. We're about fantasy make-believe.
Indeed.
And bloody knuckles.
That's why we do this. I loved all of that. I was an absolute geek at school, spent my lunch times in the music room and in the art room. Used to get bullied an awful lot, but that was life. That's what made me tough and what made me the person I am today. I think nearly a lot of people in the film industry got bullied at school. It's a thing we chat about quite often, actually.
And then you find your group.
Indeed, you do. And it was in the art class with my teacher who used to teach me all about cameras, lenses. He was a photographer, so he taught me. My love of photography came from him. He used to teach me about aperture, focal depth, everything like that. And it was, he was amazing. He was the first person that introduced me to a Leica, my art teacher.
Look at that.
When you see that, you're like, oh my God, this is some magical camera from Germany. I've never seen this before. My mom has like a Minolta that just has a film in, and you just take it. I used to go home and try and make my mom's Minolta into a Leica. But I used to set the teddies up, kind of set the scene, dress the cat up, put the cat in. I was like, right, and enter cat. And the cat would walk in.
Now, wait a minute. How do you get from enter cat to makeup and hair design? Right? Why aren't you behind the camera? What is it that made you end up choose that particular adventure?
I think I am originally an artist, so I'm a painter, and I wanted to go to Central St. Martin's, which I did for a year to study fine art. But it was very lonely. Fine art is incredibly lonely. It's great painting, but you're on your own. You've got nobody else around you, and it gets quite depressing at times. whereas I'm very much a people person, and I like looking after people, taking care of people, and creating. So I see humans as my canvas. So that's kind of where that love came from. And a very inspiring drama teacher, again, at college. So many people would put you down. I remember we had a careers day, and I spoke to my careers teacher, and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I want to work in the film industry. And then she said, "People around here don't really do that. So let's put you in an office. Well, should we do work experience in an office?" I don't like offices. And she said, "Well, let's just try it. You might learn to love it." I don't think I will. No.
Feels like I'm saying words and you're not hearing them. That's what it feels like to me. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It was. It happened previously. Maybe it's just a me thing, because the teacher before, she said, "What do you want to be?" And I want to be an astronaut. And she said, "Okay, aim a bit lower." So I said, "Okay, a pilot." And then
not said, low enough.
Should we try air stewardess? Let's go for doing a project on being an air stewardess. So I was like, "Okay, well, that's kind of close to the stars, so we'll do that."
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So I was very inspired as a child. My school were very encouraging.
It really sounds like it.
Yeah, really.
So
wonderful.
Nourishing your blossoming talent.
Nourishing. So we, and hilariously, not dropping this, but I will drop it for this point, when I won the Emmy for a project I'd done, the school reached out and said, "Will you come back and do a talk?" I was like, no. Funnily enough, no. I don't actually want to do that at a school that didn't encourage me. So
that is outstanding. That is outstanding.
Crazy.
Yeah, right.
So that's it. So Mum and I would trudge the streets and knock on all these doors before we had internet and mobile phones and all of that, and knock on the doors, find out who was the person to speak to, because nobody in my family knew. I didn't come from anybody who worked in film. My dad was a central heating engineer, so I know how to fix a boiler, easy. But I was never going to go into that field. Yes, and my mum was she was a secretary at a bank, so totally unrelated fields. So we knocked on some doors. Right. Just figured out a way, and we did it, and just sheer perseverance. And I got given a chance at London College of Fashion, where I studied a degree in specialist makeup and prosthetics, which was incredible.
Yeah, big shift, and certainly people who encourage you when you get to a place like that.
Indeed. Yeah. To the point that this is perhaps why I've chosen Whiplash. My teacher was basically a little bit like J.K. Simmons in the film. Didn't throw a chair at me or anything like that. But good. That's another, we'll talk about that later.
But a hairdryer.
Indeed.
All I can think about is that how my wife often says, you would have been a real catch if you only knew how to fix a boiler. That's the one skill. I've been married 25 years. It's the one skill I just don't know how to do.
Pressure. It's all about the pressure. My dad always says, check the water pressure and you'll be fine. Right. If that's perfect, then the boiler will be fine.
I learned that from watching The Shining.
See,
yes, check the pressure. I forgot. Talk about on the job.
Amazing.
Well, so hair and makeup, it's two different types of field, but it's all kind of under one umbrella. And oftentimes in the film industry, you're kind of focused on one or the other, or sometimes you can do, like you do both, and sometimes you're going to focus on this and this on a different film. But, are there times where you find yourself on set where you are actually doing all of it?
Indeed, yes. I think it's slightly different here in the UK. We do hair, makeup, and prosthetics, so we do everything.
Really?
Whereas we get paid for the job of one, but we do the job of three.
Somebody's figured it out.
Yeah, right. Those producers are very happy.
Yeah.
This is how
very
we can
clever.
save. Yeah.
They won't just get one person who's really keen and willing to do three jobs. And I know
the problem for her is she just never says no. So we keep asking.
Exactly this is the issue at the moment. But I love all three, and to be made to choose is it's very difficult. It's impossible, in fact, sometimes. Although back in the day, hair was always seen as below makeup. Makeup was always seen, and still is, it's always makeup who get the award. But in fact, I think that it's more often than not, it's hair that shows a period. If you see a Victory roll, you think 1940s. If you see a beehive, you think 70s. You don't necessarily think of the makeup, you think of the hair. So that's what surprises me a lot about things. But yeah,
that's pretty interesting. And in the scope of it, I was going to ask if you find yourself like preferring one or the other, but I mean, the way that you're describing it sounds like you really are passionate about both. And it might be one of those things where you're on a job and you're doing the hair and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get another makeup job. And then you do that and you're like, oh, it's time for more hair. And like you find the excitement and the joy in both of them.
Absolutely. I love all of the aspects.
So is there such a thing as being typecast in the role? Like you won the Emmy for hairstyling, right? I mean, specifically for hairstyling. Does that mean they want you for hairstyling going forward after you're an Emmy winner for hairstyling?
Surprisingly not. I think when I first won the award, this is kind of funny, the phone stopped ringing because people get scared and they think you're too expensive now. They're like, well, I can't afford her anymore.
Check that one off the list. All right.
Like, guys, try me. I'm still here.
Right.
So then I stopped. I stopped doing the whole Ricky Gervais thing and took all the awards cabinet down behind me for Zoom calls. I was like, no, don't even mention it. And then we went back full force. It was very interesting
Slowly
for a while.
but surely.
So, absolutely.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
When you, and there are times also where you're working on a job, and I'm not exactly sure about the way that this progressed, but like you were on Magic Mike's Last Dance, right? And you were working on, from my understanding, hair and makeup on that film.
Indeed, yeah.
And then you go on to do Black Mirror at the same time, and your personal makeup for Salma Hayek. Was there a crossover between those two in relation of working with Salma? Yeah.
Indeed. We did Magic Mike, and obviously it was incredible to design it and look after Chan, who's an incredible human. We had the best time.
As a sidebar, how much makeup went actually on his abs?
No, he worked really hard.
Okay.
God,
That's unfortunate.
He told me this,
I don't even know that.
He told me this thing, which I tried and I obviously failed at because I don't have abs like him, but it's called the dehydration technique. So you basically dehydrate the times you have to take your top off. And when you dehydrate, it brings your muscles out more. So I tried it, but I think you have to have muscles there to begin with to bring them out.
So was he pretty much dehydrated during the entire production?
The entire time.
I just have to take a break away. I'm going to turn off the water to my house. Like, let's just go. We're going cold turkey.
I do not support this method in any way. I just want to put that out there.
Right.
Anyway,
it was amazing, and he ate a pizza and cupcakes and everything on the last day. He went for it. Hamburger, a lot. He worked very hard. We just spray tanned every kind of 3 days. We did a spray tan. It's great. It's wonderful. It's great.
It sounds like real scut work. Yeah.
Right.
Very hard work. It was a very difficult process.
But you worked with Salma on that, and did that lead to working? Like she just enjoyed working with you, and so wanted you.
Absolutely. And then I got the phone call, and then she said, "I want you to come and do salsa with me at 5 a.m. on this other job." And so we went, and I adore her. I love her energy. She's a character in herself. She's an incredible human, and I have a lot of respect for her. She's wild in the best of ways. Yeah.
Can we talk just briefly about Tattooist?
Of course we can. This is
I didn't know it existed, frankly, until because I mean, you can't watch everything. And
exactly.
Andy messaged me last night and said, "Do you have Peacock? You have to have Peacock. Go check this out." And I was blown away. First of all, what an incredible story, incredible project. And I have not finished it yet because.
Oh, you can't
sleep.
Binge watch. That's a heavy series to binge watch.
Oh my God! After a couple of episodes, I feel like I have the bends. Like I just need to. I need to walk out, go touch grass. But I'm curious for you. I mean, you seem so kind and energetic and uplifting as a human being. And what goes into working collaboratively with people to make them appear their worst?
Oh, God. That's a great question, actually. I wish more people had asked that. It's, I think one of the big things is keeping that uplifting energy. That's really important, and keeping everyone energized and happy and positive, no matter what I was feeling inside. And I went through a few personal things on that job as well, but you kind of put that aside for what we're doing. But I think to keep people, like little things, shaving the heads is the biggest thing. And it's huge for me personally as well, because I'm the one doing the shaving. I'm dehumanizing these people myself. And that's a whole other therapy session in itself. But we broached it in different ways, and it was put on your favorite song, relax, get in the mood for it. One of our amazing actresses put on Britney Spears, and she said, I'm doing a Britney, so we need to put on Britney Spears, like she's shaving her head. You do
Adorable.
you, whatever helps.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did Britney with her, and we did a time-lapse process, and I really talked them into it. I said, do you want to wear wigs? That we can do wigs. I can make wigs. I'm a wig maker. I can do all these things for you. And most of them said, no, we really do want to shave our heads. We want to feel the part. If we're here, we've built the concentration camps in a field in Slovakia, which was insane. We want to be in that world, as it were. It's a really tough thing to say, but they wanted to be the part. And it was a kind of 4-month shoot. So they were walking. I had all these people walking around Slovakia or Bratislava, which isn't a very big city. And you bumped into constantly the actors with shaved heads and baseball caps. And I thought, God, I've done this to all of you. So I would tie my hair back every single day. So I didn't feel like, look at my long, luscious locks.
Yeah,
and
right.
So I used to just try and, it was tricky, but you just make light of it to the point that some of them have kept the shaved head to this day, which is amazing.
Oh,
they
wow.
loved it so much.
Wow.
So
Well,
there we
as
go.
a style, it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
There is that.
Yeah.
Very true.
To your point, I think it is an important thing to note on sets, because there's kind of a way of getting actors out to set, and one of the people that they're going to spend a lot of time with is their hair and makeup designer, the people that are working on them for quite a bit of time, prepping them. And every hair makeup designer that I've ever met are always bubbly and effervescent and very friendly, because they need to kind of bring that energy for the actors to have, so that they feel ready to come onto set, and they aren't feeling like somebody else is burdening me with all of their problems and everything. It's just like it's a big help, and I think that's a key part of your role. It's not, I mean, obviously the hair and makeup is a big part of it, but providing that space for them, I think is critical. I totally
agree. It's probably, we always talk about, it's probably 70% therapist, 30% makeup and hair. So we are, I one day on my deathbed, I will write a book. I know everyone's affairs. I know who's been doing what with who. I know who had a late night last night and who didn't. Who's still drunk at work. I totally cover for that as well. It's so many things. There's one
the
actor
stories I want to hear about Chazelle. Oh my God.
I love him. I mean, I personally had a wonderful experience with Harvey, and he used to leave the makeup truck. We were arm in arm, and he'd go, "Hey, which way to Hollywood?" I was like, "I think it's right. Should we go right? Let's get in the car and see." So,
I love that. You and Chazelle, Thelma and Louising it across the pond.
We absolutely were. And he used to buy me these chocolate bomb cakes when he went to Vienna for the day. And we had a one. We used to dance. And I used to be a jazz singer years ago. So he very much cottoned on to that fact and was like, I need you to sing to get me into the part. And I went, oh, Harvey, I can't do this every day. To the point that on set, he'd go, can Fran come in and sing to me? Now, can you imagine?
Wow.
Me on the sofa next to Harvey, quietly singing into his ear with a camera crew and AD and all of this, watching on quite happily.
Oh my God.
Goodness. Can't wait
You
to see
have the best job
scenes.
in the world.
It was wonderful. I wish it's all of these things that people watch the show and they have no idea about, but he put so much thought into that character. He had cue cards of images. There was so many things. He's amazing. He really is.
Well, he's certainly extraordinary as Sokolov. He's extraordinary.
He was brilliant. And he's had a prosthetic. Did you see this piece?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was just like, did I see it? No, I didn't see it, which is incredible, right? Like, it's incredible. It's only when you go back to IMDb and are like kind of cruising credits and look at his promo picture and realize, oh my God, they changed the shape of his head completely.
That's it. Totally and
seamless. It was perfect.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of. I work with Vincent van Dijk, amazing prosthetics creator, who based in LA actually, and he shipped the pieces over, and I stuck them on, coloured them, and stuck a wig on, and we went to set. It was that every morning, which was great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Wow. It really is. It's
fantastic.
You.
Where does the line, knowing that you do the prosthetics over there, like where is the line as far as prosthetics that you do versus like when someone else is coming on to do something? Like if it's like a finger that is missing or something like that, or something on it or something, like is that still part of your job, or because it's on the body?
It's a kind of tricky crossover. So yes, the finger that's missing I can do, but then that's a mixture of me and VFX. So I can give you the finger and make that part. Halloween around my house, just to add, is absolutely brilliant because I just hang body parts everywhere.
Fantastic.
It's a little bit sadistic. I think it's kind of, kids don't knock at my front door anymore because I have like an arm and a leg hanging there, and I think they go, "Oh, I'm going to avoid that one."
Yeah, right.
You don't have to buy any candy. Of course, you spend about $7,000 in prosthetics and equipment. But yeah,
it's the house looks, and I do the funny thing, whereas I put the fake hand down my top, and I go, "Do you want a hand?" That's a whole different story. But yes, it's, so the finger would be me, VFX would do the other piece. But if you're going bigger and you're making silicone bodies and severed heads and things like that, then you bring in a whole kind of prosthetics team. I work closely with Marc Coulier, who's an incredible, 50 million times Oscar-winning prosthetics designer who's just sensational. And he will do those bigger things. So I will do your bullet wounds, I'll do severed arms, wounds, or things like that. But then if I need the big guns to come in, I'll always call him to help.
Sure.
Talking about sort of the evolution of the industry, you've been doing this specific work for over a decade, right?
You're going to show my age now.
I'm not going to show anything. I'm not going to show anything. That's why I left it just raw. People think intense, plus or minus 10 years. But
17. I have been doing it for 17 years.
Okay. See, you're the one who showed it. There you go. We're okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm curious how the experience of working on set has changed over this particular period, because technology and presentation has changed so much, and it seems to be changing so fast. What's the experience like for you?
So much. It's changed an awful lot just in that short period of time, I think. And I have a lot of obviously older colleagues in the industry who tell me how it was previous as well. And it just, every day it's changing in the sense of technology, in the sense of budgets. I will say budgets are kind of dropping, sadly. That's going down when in theory, it should be going up with inflation, but that's another story. Right. But it's that. And now because of the amount of content, just because of all the streamers that we have, we used to have BBC One, 2, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5 at a push in the UK. And then movies, you would go to the cinema. Whereas now we just have streaming service after streaming service, just new content, and people craving new content daily. So the amount of stuff that gets made is not necessarily as good as quality as it used to be, perhaps in some respects. And the amount of money that goes into things is a lot less. People just want to see crime nowadays. Everybody loves a crime documentary. That's one of the biggest things I think Netflix churns out. But it's changed an awful lot. And the technology has changed for the good and for the bad in some respects. Like the AI stuff, I know we have a massive thing going on about that, which really does, it's tricky for the makeup industry and prosthetics industry, because a lot of actors cotton onto the fact perhaps they don't have to sit in a chair for 3 hours. They can have it CGI or visually enhanced on them with a few blue dots on their face. So some are going down that path, but some are still very loyal to the planet. I've recently worked with Jim Carrey. I was his personal hair designer for Sonic. And he is absolutely incredible. I was floored the day I met him because he's my childhood just there. And he fully went full prosthetic for everything. And that helps him become that part. It helps with his walk. It helps with his head, the way he speaks, the way he becomes that character. He morphs from Jim Carrey into this Robotnik, or he's the granddad. He's incredible. So it's a shame if that does start dying. I really don't want that to happen. But we have to work together. We have to work with VFX to kind of start collaborating and teamwork, in which we did a lot on The Tattooist, actually. Our VFX team were sensational. We worked very closely.
So in what context. I mean, can you give me an example of what I undoubtedly missed as a composite shot?
Absolutely. Emaciated bodies is probably the biggest one because you can't find supporting artists that are emaciated. So we had to I contoured the abs and I would contour the collarbones and highlight and darken as much as I can, contour jawlines, all of this, but they still aren't absolutely emaciated like, unfortunately, the bodies were in those times. So VFX helped make them smaller and emaciate the bodies. It's something that goes very unnoticed and you just think, oh, it's there. But when you think about the process, hang on a minute, we don't have people that look like this today.
No.
Yeah, right.
It's extraordinary. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. When I mean, you brought up Sonic that you did with Jim Carrey. Obviously, that is very fantastical and a totally different type of work that you're doing on that.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're approaching a project, I mean, it's very different. I mean, approaching something like The Tattooist of Auschwitz or Sonic the Hedgehog 3, what is your process of getting into the work that you're going to be bringing into that project?
I think personally, after doing The Tattooist, it was quite a tough job emotionally. So I just needed something really uplifting. I needed a comedy. I needed something happy. And Jim Carrey came up. I thought, well, that you can't beat Jim Carrey. I'm not going to say no to that. So it's I choose products mostly on the script, but mostly just on who I'm working with and what I can create on that job. That's like when I got the Tattooist script, I thought, wow, this is tough. This is going to be really tough, but I want to bring that. And I think it's a story that needs to be told. So I really want to support that process. So it's all that kind of, and I'm not fussed about budgets. Obviously big budgets are incredible, but I equally love very good scripts. So if you get a good script, and sadly, great scripts and great dramas don't have big budgets, and comedies, and they don't have large budgets nowadays. So if I like the script, I'll do the job.
What's your department size on a small budget versus a large budget?
We can go from I was just thinking of my incredible team that I work so hard sometimes, and they're always so grateful. Like, don't you want to sleep? I think you do. I go, but you don't sleep, so why do we? Oh, please, if I go down, then we're dancing.
Right.
So we'd probably go from a team of 4 with perhaps 2 artists come in to do background up to a team of like 100. We go up. I've had a 100-strong crowd team before, and probably 10, 15 main team. It can go from anywhere up to anything.
Well, and that's a thing. Talking about Tattooist, talking about Letter for the King. Like these are projects with an enormous number of supporting artists. Like it seems like dealing with these sort of massive crowds. I assume we're dealing with massive crowds, and we're not CGing a lot of people in the background.
Nope. They were crowds. Yeah. They were in mostly, Tattooist, it was like every single day. And Letter for the King was the same. But I had a wonderful Slovakian crowd team who, unfortunately, in Slovakia, they don't really film an awful lot. They've never done a big project to the scale. They normally do 2 weeks visits. I think Jack Reacher went there for a couple of weeks, things like that.
Right.
But they've never done it to this scale. So we laughed at the beginning of the job because it was basically the makeup and hair school run by Fran for about 4 months, teaching Slovakian artists how to do it the film and TV way. And I had a wonderful assistant who was my translator because not many people speak great English, so that was also very tricky, but fun, but so fun. Yeah. And now I've left there, hopefully, and I've left them with some knowledge and some tools for the future, and I left them with a lot of Illustrator palettes. So I was like, guys, take all this stuff. Just I want you to progress. I want you to be amazing, and they are.
Practice.
Well, and to help cultivate a fantastic international location to bring big budget projects to in the future,
which is
incredible,
amazing
to
be a kind of
that place.
Tiny pioneer, that little tiny, little, almost
a teeny tiny pioneer. That's
tiny pioneer of this thing. I would go into hairdressers and beauty salons out there, and nobody again could speak English, so I just have the old Slovakian Google Translate, and I would pull people from hair salons and go, "Do you want to work on a film or a TV series?" They go, "What? We don't know." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a thing. Come on, get in the minibus." So.
Helping Slovakians trust minibuses.
Absolutely. Just kidnapped loads of hairdressers with minibuses and the promise of a free meal, and they came for the ride.
And they came.
Came in their hundreds, which was wonderful. It was the amount of support was incredible. It really was.
But all the poor Slovakians who went to get a haircut that day and couldn't because you had kidnapped
however long you guys were in
Exactly.
Slovakia, the average hair length went crazy.
That's so true. It was like COVID all over again for the poor people of Bratislava. They all just become yetis. We're like, where's the hairdressers gone? They're over there earning more money on a film set, so they're off.
They're fine, yeah.
We'll
Cut your
never
own
do
hair.
haircuts again.
Man.
And we used to say to them, come and be in it. The people we used to get so many essays, because again, we had so many essays that they didn't necessarily have an essay agency big enough there.
Yeah.
So there was many first timers that had no idea. It's like, don't look down the lens. What? No, don't look down the lens. Okay.
Right.
You're doing it right now.
Exactly. So it was. We had to make light of many of these moments, obviously, because it was tough. So we did, and the main cast were just phenomenal, and our friends to this day. We all get on very, very well.
That's awesome. How fun.
It was great.
Well, I think this is a good time to shift our conversation. I mean, it's been great chatting about you, but I know we really, all three of us, want to get into this conversation talking about Damien Chazelle's Whiplash.
Yes. Absolutely.
God.
So let's just start with, like, where did you first see this film? Like, what and how did it hit you that first time?
Oh, God, where did I first see it? I think I saw it in a movie theatre in New York, actually. I think, which you guys have a very different movie theatre experience in America. And I found that out years ago. In the UK, we don't necessarily clap at the end of film. We don't go, whoop, whoop, yeah, man, whoa, yeah. We just don't really do that.
It's just, if it's anything, it's the quiet little British.
Right.
Absolutely. It's the very refined, quiet little clap or the Queen's wave. That's just what we all do. It's,
Queen's wave at the end of a movie. Jesus. Elbow,
God.
wrist. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So yeah, it was an experience, and hearing people cheer and go, I was like, wow, this is great. I quite like this. And I kind of tried to bring it back here, but it went down like a lead balloon. So we're not going to do that.
People are like, who is this person making all these noises in the back of the theater?
Yeah.
She's like at a baseball game. She needs to leave. So it was very much that. And I remember seeing it. I think I sat there, and I always watch the credits, as you do, just respect to our fellow creatives. And
Absolutely.
I just sat in the cinema at the end for about 20 minutes, staring at a blank screen, thinking, oh my God, Damien Chazelle, who are you? You're like the most phenomenal, incredible, young, beautiful, wonderful director of the new age. He is just, I had to go back and see it the next day, which I did.
Fantastic. Had you seen the short film, or was this kind of like you were walking into this blind, not really knowing about it?
Blind, absolutely blind.
Yeah.
I'd seen his film. I think it's Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench. I think that's the one he did before that. I've seen that and loved that. So I loved what he was trying to create. And then this was just like, ooh, wow. This was. So I've watched the short film since, which I think they made on like $28,000 or something like that, which again is amazing.
Yeah, right.
The short film is equal.
Which is kind of like a scene from this. It's just the scene when Andrew first gets to play, and the whole are you rushing or are you dragging? That whole conversation.
That's it.
Not my tempo. Not my tempo.
Not my tempo. This is what I say at work sometimes. I go, guys, not my tempo. It's not my tempo. And then be quiet. Stop with the Whiplash quotes.
As you're getting ready to
I try to do
something.
the Simmons fist thing all the time
It's
to my
so
kids. They
difficult.
don't buy it. It's really hard. And also, I'm not cut like J.K. Simmons. Like, I'm working on it, but really, he looks great. And his arm.
Dehydration. We're just going back there.
Full circle, right?
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. So this movie is legit like my favorite movie, and it's been on my Letterboxd #1 for years. How many years? I don't know, all of them. And so I'm hugely I find this movie really, really fascinating. I also, when I tell people that I love this movie and I find it inspirational as an education movie, they look at me and they say, "Are you a sociopath?" I am curious your take on the ultimate message of the movie. Are you inspired by the movie, or
Oh,
are you just inspired by the filmmaking?
okay. This is great because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So
Is it on one
the
of your
end,
post-its?
it's right. Where am I looking? Left, right. No, genuinely, the two of them ultimately win at the end of the film, which kind of isn't right because he wins because he's created the best drummer in the world, and it's like, look at my live band, they're incredible because of me. And then Naaman wins because he's like the most incredible drummer in the world, and he's proving it to the audience, and he's taking control of that stage and absolutely owns it. So they both win, which is kind of showing us that maybe being an abusive teacher works, which it shouldn't do. But going back to my university experience, my teacher did always used to put me down and always said, no, you can do better. And every day I showed him my project I was so proud of, and he'd go, no, that's not good enough. Or there was times he did throw a talco across the room. It was a small hairbrush. And I thought, oh God,
no.
I just can't win. Whereas the other colleagues, some of my like other students in the class were like, oh, this is amazing. This is an incredible project. Wow, you're good. I thought, why are you not saying this to me? And when I graduated with a first, I said to him, look, I got a first. Am I good enough now? And he said, I was like that to you because that's how you needed to be taught. You needed that constant me on your back to be better because I knew you were the best and you just needed that. So
Is that true? Okay, so for you put yourself back there. Is that true? Do you feel like you could have gotten your first if it hadn't been for the teacher on your back?
I feel like I work better like that, yes, because I've worked with a few directors like that since who are very quick to criticize and never, I mean, it's the film industry all over, really. Everyone's always very quick to criticize and never quick to praise. It's one of those things. So you're constantly searching for that praise and that good girl, like well done, or good job. And that's, unfortunately, I think in the past, to this day, we probably give out the word good job too easily. That's a thing there was a thing I was reading from J.K. Simmons with kids going down slides in parks. So the kid sits at the top of the slide, goes down the slide, and the mum goes, good job, oh my God, this is amazing. Well, it's basically gravity. It's gravity.
Yeah, right.
They haven't done anything.
Non-contributing participant, yeah.
They've just sat and gone down a slide, and then that gets praised. So perhaps we're a little bit too quick to give that out in some respects nowadays. But it's, I work better under that kind of pressure. And I think he's a very big reason I got the first in the end is because of my teacher. And he had that smirk in his eye at the end, and I thought, oh God, hate to say that you're right, but you're right.
Yeah.
But obviously that Fletcher Simmons does it to a whole different level, throwing a chair, and he's just horrid. He is quite a horrid man.
Well, he is, and you know, part of the beauty of their relationship is that they're both sort of horrid, as one as a student, one as a teacher, and together they are combustible, and it is the nature of that combustion that creates the opportunity to do the final performance, and for Andrew to take control of the stage and essentially conduct the band from the drums. And then give Fletcher a chance to shine too, right? To take to work as collaborators. So it goes from combustion to collaboration, and that's the journey of the story of the teacher-student. And that is the thing that I appreciate about the narrative so much. That's why it's one of my favorite movies, because you have to watch it like 5 times to realize that both of these guys have best interests at heart and have no idea how to communicate that to the world.
Absolutely that. And that's huge. I mean, he has the intent. They both have such an intense, strong passion for what they do. And it's just two passions colliding and driving each other forwards. That's literally what he's driving him. And they get to that point where they just combust at the end. And it's the most beautiful combustion on stage. It's just incredible.
Well, and to your point, Pete, I mean, it is interesting how awful Andrew can be also, you know, like when he's having that dinner with his dad and those friends that the kind of that family friends or cousins, I'm not exactly sure what they are, but like he goes and turns completely terrible at them because, I mean, as you were saying, like this idea of just that kind of blind praise that they are giving to their sons about, oh, such a great player, he's going to be great for the school this year. And he's just like, yeah, but they're just Division III. Like, he really starts digging on them. And I know there's part of it, like, he didn't feel like they were paying him enough attention, or just not even paying attention, but just like that sense of like dismissive people that like they ask him about how he's doing on his drums and then completely change the subject and don't pay attention. So, I mean, he kind of gets irritated at them, but there is kind of this arrogance that he carries throughout the film. And there is a level of maybe he does need to be taken down a peg a little bit to actually get to a place where he understands that he does need to learn these things. It's just, yeah, maybe throwing chairs isn't necessarily the way to do it, but...
Well, true. I think those examples are right on, Andy, because I think people watch this movie and the focus is squarely on Fletcher as the sociopathic teacher, and people forget that if you just look at the student and realize in almost every scene he's an asshole to somebody. Right?
Yeah.
He is, including the girl, even his girlfriend.
Yes. Oh, poor Melissa Benoist. Doesn't he know she's Supergirl? Come on. So
he didn't get far enough down the line to find out. He just literally was like, I can't do this. My career's too important. Well, you're off.
I'm going to go save, the planet.
I'm going to go save the world and become Supergirl and just show you how it's done.
Screw off. That's fine.
Exactly.
Okay, you said, though, that this was not a heavily makeup and hair movie. Yes. Simmons, notably, has no hair.
Has no hair.
So how do you look at this movie from that perspective? Like, what do you notice that we're missing?
Oh, tough question. I kind of look at this movie from a filmmaker perspective. It's I think... Well, there's little things in there, like we spoke about the bloody knuckles and things like that, which perhaps if you're playing the drums right in the first place wouldn't necessarily happen. So there's a bit of artistic license there. And I am a musician, so I can say these things just on the record. And for me, it's just the way the light bounces off of his shiny head, shall we say. It's the perfectly lit movie. We have kind of the golds and browns when everything's a bit happy and calm, and when Neiman is in his kind of happy place. And then when he's in his outside his comfort zone or somewhere where he's not playing the drums, it goes kind of bluey green. So for me, just colors, that's how I see this film from obviously an art point of view. It's the lighting and the grade that's been put on the end of it that I absolutely appreciate to the hilt.
And there's quite a bit of sweat too, though, and I know that also ends up being something that you're doing with bringing more spritz, kind of like
absolutely
let's get people wet. So, but I mean, it does get to a point where you're kind of like needing to get them drenched and stuff as he really progresses when he's doing those speed. I don't know what you call it in the world of drumming, but just like speed drumming, where he's just trying to go as fast as he can and just as long as he can. And I imagine some of that is actually Miles Teller's real sweat, but also I'm sure that in your department, you're trying to come in and enhance it or maybe reduce it and everything. And so that's a whole aspect as well that probably plays into this film quite a bit.
Absolutely. That's a huge part. Again, because of light reflecting and things like that. With the sweat is, a lot of the times the actor goes, I need to be sweaty. And I go, well, go and run around the block. Create your own sweat. Come on, let's get into the part. But obviously, I will also oblige and do what I need to do. But with the sweat as well, it's a point that there's many times that this has happened. They go, more sweat, more sweat. And I'm like, look at the actor with your eye. They are absolutely drenched, like they've just walked out of a lake. Sometimes you need to light the sweat just so it pings and it gets that glint. So if we could just have a quick chat with the gaffer and the DMP, just to get a little bit of light in there, it might help you see the sweat. Or we've got some beautiful, like, Super Baltar vintage lenses where everything's a little bit blurred. Or recently I've been working with Steven Soderbergh. Oh, absolute legend. And he has these beautiful... Bag, right? Yes, black bag. Yeah. He has these beautiful lenses that have been made for him. I think they're Hawks. And they have a constant halo effect over everything. So it softens things slightly. So again, you can't see any sweat. So it's like, I don't know what you want here. Go extreme close-up. So sometimes it's tricky. But yes, I do.
Pedestrian question. Is it easier to make someone sweat or make them sweat less?
Ooh, it all depends on the room, the lights, the situation. If it's hot, they're going to sweat. It's one of those things. Probably a lot easier to add sweat than it is to keep going in and taking it away with tissues, fans, everything. It's, like the dancers on Magic Mike, they would just sweat constantly because their dancing is insane. They were just going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of adds to the look, really.
So, and that's
exactly.
Teller. This is Teller sweat. I think that's the canonical
this
truth.
is Teller
This
sweat.
is Teller sweat.
I'm going to give him the credit for that. I'm going to.
Right. Real.
Yes.
Right.
Real
If there were
honest to
still an
goodness Teller
MTV movie award for sweat,
like
it would
the best
go
sweat
to Teller.
goes to Teller.
Yeah.
They would be the
J.K.
ones to
Simmons,
give that one.
He doesn't really sweat all the way through. I don't know if you've noticed. I have looked at that tiny point.
Yeah.
He just stays very neutral. He never gets to that point. Even though he's conducting an orchestra on stage, he still doesn't sweat.
Okay. So symbolically, what do you think that means? Because I think it means something in their relationship.
I was going to say something terrible. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
I dare you to say it. I
was going to say maybe he has the same disease that Prince Andrew has. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard about that, but I probably can't say that.
Okay, so you're bringing. We've just brought the royals to our show, and now I'm scared.
No, I'm going to get murdered. Don't just cut that bit out.
Yeah. We only just met. Like really.
Yeah, like no, I don't want to die. I've got a long career ahead of me.
Okay, so no royals talk. This is the thing that I think is so interesting about him.
No, none of that.
I just
no
froze.
royal connotations.
The royals have found out, and now I'm frozen.
Yeah, Pete
oh
froze.
no, God, it is the royals.
We can hear you again, though.
There, you're back. You're back. Here he is. He's back. I don't know. I think maybe because he's just always cool, calm, and collected, and that's the point. Even in the height of drama, he's still the coolest man in the room. Which I mean, he actually is. It is J.K. Simmons. I saw him coming out of a lift once in London, and he was the same.
He's so cool.
Just as cool. Yeah.
Even the trailer for that he plays Santa Claus in the Rock movie. I can't think of what it's called. He's
Red
lifting.
One.
He says, "Let's go heavy." Yeah, Red One. He and the Rock actually hold their own together in the same frame. And
Absolutely.
who else could do that? Simmons.
Right?
I think there is something symbolically about what he is as a manufactured idol for Andrew in this movie, right? That there is something that he has to constantly look like dry plastic because to Andrew he is. And that is something that means something to me watching it, that Andrew is supplicating himself for this thing that is fake. That is fake, and he's a vessel for it, Simmons.
Totally that, and he never his costume never changes, his look never changes. He's always the same. Yeah. It's totally reliant on performance, and that's what's so amazing about that.
Well, and contrasted to Paul Reiser, right? To Andrew's dad, who Paul Reiser, the consummate human being, right? He's just so normal.
So lovely, so normal. You want to sit next to him in the movie theater and share popcorn? I'd happily do that. He's just a lovely
popcorn
man.
with Raisinets in it. Yeah,
popcorn with Raisinets.
Yep,
exactly that. Dad, I don't eat the Raisinets. It's that. Yeah, okay.
Eat around them.
I mean that's the contrast, right? Is that Andrew has shunned his own father, who is clearly made of human materials, for this idol. In Fletcher, they play that contrasting role, I think, incredibly well.
So well. And when he uses that at the beginning, when Fletcher says, like, your mother left you as a baby, and I thought, oh wow, that is. They're having a real kind of heart-to-heart conversation, and it's how did you get, like, what does your dad do? What does your mum do? You think, oh, it's nice. He's trying to build a bridge here. He's trying to warm up to him and show a bit of personality. It's something like that. And then suddenly he throws it back in his face, and I thought, "Oh, that is a low blow. That's
right.
That's harsh."
Well, and it does make you wonder, like, how far does he go? Like, has he done that with all of these students? Has he had these private conversations before they've really seen him turn on them to actually use it against them perpetually? Like, perhaps the one guy who said that he ended up being flat, but really wasn't. Perhaps he had talked to him about his struggles with eating or whatever it was, because he sure blows that in his face as he's having those conversations with him.
And why are you looking on the floor? There's not a Mars bar down there. He says that. I think that's one of the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And it makes you wonder, like, when we get to the point in the film where Fletcher learns about the student who had killed himself, and then that turns into this whole lawsuit or push to get Fletcher out of the school. It does make you wonder, like, what was the journey for that kid? I mean, he had sent him a CD of him playing his music, signed to him and everything. So perhaps there was still that connection, but also clearly that person was also broken. And it's just...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a nice punctuation, I think, when that happens, when it comes in. It kind of shows that Fletcher has a side. It shows he was emotional that day. He was quiet. That's when he did that. But little did he know the guy died because of him. He needed some therapy. It was tough scene.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and it does play for an interesting shift in the film where then it gets to the point where Andrew is just like, well, I don't want to, like, you could see it in that conversation between his dad and the I don't know, like the attorney for the school
lady or
whatever she is. In that conversation, you could see that he still saw Fletcher as this idol, this person that was getting him somewhere. Like it's like he felt it, but he was still broken by that. And that's what's so interesting, because he doesn't want to do that, but he ends up just like, what do you want me to say? And it was
to the point we see him in the jazz bar, and he still is like, no, but he still trusts him. He still has that trust in him to go, actually, yeah, I'll come and do it. Not even thinking for a second that this guy would have known it was him and he'll just turn on him. He still had that trusting relationship with him.
Right. Who even lied to him about the fact that it was probably some student who was in his class, like knowing that it was him. It's diabolical.
That's gaslighting, right? That's where we are. Like the movie is just them trying to out-gaslight one another.
Absolutely. It gets to that at the end. Just become masters of gaslighting. Yeah. It was exactly that in the end. Yeah.
So pivoting just a little bit away from this movie directly, where do you stand on Damien Chazelle's other works? He sort of came out of... I'll say, relative nowhere with this movie, right?
Yes.
He'd written Grand Piano in that era, kind of before this came out, which was awesome. Totally worth seeing. Anybody who hasn't seen it, really fun. Although sadly does not make the 6-star rating on IMDb. Still worth seeing. But then he comes out with these other movies, La La Land and First Man and Babylon most recently. Where do you stand on the rest of his catalog? Does he live up to his Whiplash roots for you?
I'm a huge Chazelle fan. I'm a very big fan. It's a really tricky one, because then you go from this kind of really kinetically punctuated film that goes along with the percussion and the drums. Then you go into La La Land, which is very glowy, very curvy, very movie, very beautiful. You have the blue Disney skies, everything makes everybody want to go to LA. I did love La La Land, but that's because I'm an old-time Hollywood fan. I'd like to think that that's what Hollywood's like. I know it's not. It's probably a bit more like Babylon. But it's I love that, and I love the kind of curvature into that. Then I think my only thing is with Whiplash, he had, I think, $3.3 million to do that film at the time, and they shot it in 19 days. Can we just have a moment?
Wow.
19 days they shot that film, and I think they were doing 18-hour days. The crew must have been exhausted. But it was all because he had a month to edit, because he wanted to get it into Sundance, and it was Miles Teller's availability, I think. So to shoot that is just phenomenal. So he goes from that kind of, lowish budget, and then he just gets given millions, which is amazing and incredible, and everybody deserves that. But I think perhaps sometimes it's a little bit of a downfall, because you don't need all of that money and all of that equipment and all of that presence and stuff and lenses and cameras and all that to make an incredible film. I think, again, Steven Soderbergh, who I work with often, is a true hero of that. You don't need millions and millions and millions of pounds and all these incredible things to make an amazing movie. It's sometimes you're giving too much. And that is a lot of people's downfall, I think, in this industry. It's a little bit power gone mad. But Babylon, again, stunning film, amazing film, about 3 films in one, which is, I would have loved the Tobey Maguire bit. Wow, that went a bit crazy for me at that point. I thought, no, you've lost me now. But again, that was a whole nother film. I think, where is this magical cave in Los Angeles where all of this happens?
Right.
I really love to see. It's quite remarkable. So I'm still a fan, but I think I'd love him to go back to his roots of just a nice, dramatic just a nice double act, which this basically is with a few extras in the background. It's supporting artist, sorry. It's that, but he is a phenomenal writer, and I can't wait to see what he comes out with next. I'm really excited for his next venture.
He did quickly achieve for me the rank of if his name's on it, I'll go see it. Right?
Absolutely, very quickly.
Pretty quickly.
And he had, like, considering Whiplash, I think was produced by Blumhouse Productions, which isn't Whiplash is not one of their type of films. They're horror guys.
Right.
And so it was I think it was Cooper Samuelson, perhaps, who worked there. He was very supportive of Chazelle and gave him the money for the short and said, right, let's make it, which is huge for them because he was a writer before and like just a jobbing writer who did a lot of things for them and horror things and adapted some scripts. But this was huge and huge for them as well, I think, as a company. I wish they did more of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift from what you normally see. I mean, although I guess you could say, well, there is a little bit of a horror element in this as you look at Fletcher's
Very
character.
True.
But
very true.
But no, it's fascinating to watch, and it's interesting because J.K. Simmons gets talked about so much in this. I mean, his performance as Fletcher is just phenomenal. Obviously, won an Oscar for his role and everything. But Miles Teller, I think there's this level to him as a performer that gets buried because so much of the conversation becomes about Simmons because he is so big. But I think Teller also is bringing a lot to this film, and we've talked about him a little bit with some of like the levels of his just the way that he is portraying the character and everything. But I think there's a lot that's going on with him, and aside from just performing the drums, like actually being there performing, like he's bringing a lot to this character, and I find him an incredibly compelling protagonist for our story as we follow him on this journey to be the best. And
absolutely.
The
intensity that he brings, it's almost, I mean, like almost on par with a Heath Ledger Joker character. I think if he carried on doing this role for too long, it would probably send him a little bit insane. That's probably why 19 Days was kind of good, because it wasn't too long a process. But his intensity on those drums, and playing the drums is not easy. And I know that Chazelle took his drum kit round to Teller's house and made him learn. He was like, you need to learn. Obviously, a lot of the faster shots and everything like that is a real skilled double, I'm sure, coming in there. But a lot of it he did, and he was remarkable. He really did throw himself into the role of Neiman, and his just intensity was like mind-blowing. He's a very, very good actor.
Yeah, Chazelle says over 90% of the drums in the movie are Teller.
See, that's incredible.
That's incredible.
That's some going. That's not easy.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that you brought up, Joker, and you've already dropped Jim Carrey. Like, look at what Andy Kaufman did to Jim Carrey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that took him out of Hollywood for a while, talking about somebody who loses himself in the intensity of a role.
And you still have that, when I met Jim for the first time, I still had that anxiety that I thought, oh my God, he's going to be horrid. I've seen all the Andy Kaufman stuff. He's going to be just this crazy. But I think he really worked on himself when he took himself out of Hollywood, and he's just the most kindest, wonderful, spiritual human now. He really has come back around. So it's crazy how a role can take over your life.
Truly, yeah.
Great movie. Oh, my goodness.
It's such a fantastic film. I mean, what a conversation talking with you about it. Any last points, any last things you wanted to bring up about it? I know you have like countless sticky notes. I just wanted to give you a chance to make sure. Which ones did you miss?
Okay, I have a really, really good one, which is a great fun fact, which I found out whilst doing a bit of research. The lenses they shot on, ingenue lenses, they were the lens that was used on the Apollo 11 camera that shot Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. Now, in my eyes, yes, he landed on the moon. This happened. America, you have the credit for this. And that camera the camera is still up there. So if anybody goes to the moon, which apparently I've researched after watching Fly Me to the Moon recently, I was like, why has nobody been back? But it's too
They left an awesome camera.
Go and get that ingenue lens, which is really expensive, and sell it to make some proceeds for the moon landing. Please, somebody go back. Yeah. That was the lenses used on that camera, and he used that to shoot Whiplash. And I think there's so many other films. I have got notes of the films that have been shot on those lenses as well, but I won't bore you with that. But yeah,
I wonder if First Man was. if any of his films were, that would be the one that would make sense.
I know La La Land wasn't, but I wonder if First Man was. Because that would be the one, the space film. Interesting.
Right. It makes sense that La La Land wasn't, because it was it was much more crisp than either First Man or Whiplash. Like it was much more sort of plastic Hollywood.
And it was shot on film, La La Land. I didn't know it was shot on film until, rightly so. It's one of those films it should be, but it was shot on film, whereas Whiplash was not. I think speed is a thing with Whiplash that they
19
needed.
days.
Yeah,
19
days. Right.
Yeah, gotta get through it.
With all that drumming and everything, you can't just be wasting film as they're going, we didn't get it on that one. Because, you obviously want it to be looking good, too, aside from sounding good and everything. Yeah.
And another reason, I think, for those lenses was all those whip pans, loads of quick whip pans, and those lenses are quite easy to quickly focus. They're a quick focus lens, so it worked very well for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a fantastic film, just a real amazing piece of cinema that Chazelle crafted here.
Absolutely.
Frances, thank you so much for coming and talking with us about it. It's been a thrill.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I've loved this. Can we do this again sometimes? It's brilliant.
Right,
anytime.
Absolutely.
We can talk about the Joker next time. I don't know, something that's coming out soon, isn't it?
Maybe, maybe we do a conversation on a double feature, Joker and Folie à Deux.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
There you go. All right.
And there's plenty of hair and makeup to talk about with those as well.
Yes. Next time it would be great to talk about a film where I can talk about hair and makeup.
Right. Absolutely. Oh man, awesome. Frances, do you have any places online that you send people, like socials or?
Just probably Instagram is the old classic. I'm at Fran_makeup_designer, or just my name. I'm the only one in the world with my name, so I'm quite easy to find, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Well, we'll make sure the link's in the show notes so people can just click on it and then they won't have to worry.
Yeah.
But it has been such a joy. Yeah, such a joy having
lovely.
you here.
Thank you.
Really
I'm really so honored to be chatting to you both today. It's been so wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have those links in the show notes. Again, we certainly appreciate you joining us here today. For everyone else out there, we hope you like the show and certainly hope you like the movie like we do here on Movies We Like. Movies We Like is a part of the True Story FM Entertainment Podcast Network and the Next Reel family of film podcasts. The music is Chonk Clap by Out of Flux. Find the show at truestory.fm and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at The Next Reel. Learn about becoming a member at thenextreel.com/membership. And if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, we always appreciate it if you drop one in there for us. See you next time.